Hi, I'm Ben Reif, the Calling King. Over the last couple of years, I've worked with over 400 companies to move them from a prem-based calling solution to Cisco Webex Calling. And today, I'm going to show you one such customer who saved $15,000 a month by moving to Webex. So you might be wondering, what is Webex Calling? Webex Calling is Cisco's cloud-hosted business communication solution. You see, Cisco acquired BroadSoft a number of years ago. They couldn't get to market fast enough, so rather than building their own solution, they bought the number one solution on the market, BroadSoft. Webex is managed by Cisco Systems, which means it's perpetually current. You don't have to worry about any updates, upgrades, backups, or anything like that. Webex includes cloud-connected PSTN. That means there's no phone lines to maintain. Everything runs over the internet. Webex is a single app for calling, meetings, messaging, and contact center. You no longer need a separate app for calling, one for meetings, one for messaging. With Webex, it's all in one. Webex is a single portal or pane of glass to manage all your users, all your devices across all locations. Whether your offices are across the street, across town, across country, or international, with Webex, you can manage them all from one pane of glass. Webex is a subscription-based software as a service, which means you only pay for what you use. And finally, Webex includes multi-platform device support. That includes IP desk phones, video devices, headsets, and conference room devices. Now, those of you who are looking for a new phone system, you might be thinking, isn't it cheaper just to buy a new phone system and pay for phone lines and keep my system for the next 5 years? Let me give you some considerations. Remember, you might have a phone system that you purchased 10 years ago. It was fully depreciated 5 years ago. And so now all you've got is a couple $100 a month bill for phone lines. There's a lot more that goes into maintaining a phone system than just phone lines and maintenance. And you got to remember, the next generation business communication solution is not a system. It's a service or a subscription. Cost comparison of a prem-based solution versus Webex Calling. Let's look at the CapEx comparison. The CapEx is a capital expense. That's the one-time purchase. With a prem-based system, you might have to purchase phones, servers, voicemail servers, software licenses, cabling, rack space, voice gateways for your PSTN circuits, your phone lines, and monitoring tools. With Webex, you just have to pay for phones, if that. We're seeing a trend where many users prefer to use the app on their mobile device or computer instead of a desk phone. Next, we'll look at the operating cost comparison, the OpEx. That's the recurring cost with the system. With your prem-based system, just because you made a purchase doesn't mean that you're no longer going to have any type of recurring cost, because you still have maintenance fees, software assurance, your phone lines, PSTN connectivity, your usage, real estate power and cooling, and your operating staff to support it. With Webex, you just have a per user subscription. That's it. Next, let's look at a sample per user comparison, real data provided by Nermet's IP telephony. Here we see with a premise-based solution, in year one, the total cost per user is about $1,000. In other words, $80 a month per user. With Webex, the all-in cost per user in year one is $350. In other words, $25 a month. Now, you would expect over the course of 5 years, as time goes on, you would expect the prem-based solution to be more cost-effective, to have a lower total cost of ownership as compared to a subscription-based solution like Webex, which has a fairly predictable and flat cost of ownership. Not so. Let's take a look. With the premise-based solution, over the course of 5 years, the total cost per user is about $3,000. With Webex, $1,500. What does that mean? That means Webex Calling saves you 53%. That's real money. Next, let's look at some actual customer data. This is a large Canadian pharmaceutical customer of ours, and their name has been redacted to protect their privacy. But we're gonna look at some of their phone bills here. And so we've got $3,800 for this one, $82, $165, $143, etc., $182, $165, and then of course $8,000. That's a lot of money. Total, they're spending $18,000 a month just on phone lines. So let's look at an ROI calculation and what that investment with Webex looks like. Here we see they have 332 users, and because of their size, they have more than 250 users. We're able to put them in an enterprise agreement, which would allow for growth. It provides them with 20% growth free of charge, and we're able to provide them half of that number in common area licenses, such as a kitchen, a break room, lobby, hallway, conference room, fax machine, etc. Those are all common area devices, and here they're getting 116 for free. So in other words, they're paying for 332 licenses, and they're getting almost 600 for free. Now, we are charging them a one-time cost of $90,000. That's the capital cost, which includes their phones, and their implementation services to get installed. Now, we also are charging them monthly $10,000 for the Webex services and support. Okay, that is the operating cost. Now, if you remember from the previous discussion, they're spending almost $18,000 a month just in phone lines. So that goes here. Typically, we would see a breakout of usage. If they had any local or long distance charges, that would go here. If they had any 911 fees, the cost of their telephone numbers, etc., that would go here. But that was all grouped into their bill. So we totaled that all here. If the customer had an answering service, music on hold, etc., those fees would go here. They did have a professional service of $175 a month, which was they paid a vendor to do some professional greeting recording for them. Sometimes customers will have redundant circuits. So for example, to tie a couple locations together, they would have a tie line that would be, or they need a dedicated circuit to protect their voice. If maybe they have SIP trunks, they want a redundant internet circuit in case they go down. These next contracts here, Flex, Swiss, and SmartNet, all Cisco specific contracts. So this customer had a Cisco on-prem call manager solution like many of you, and so they didn't have any of this. Instead, they gave us a number of $2,500 a month. That was what they are paying for maintenance, hardware, software maintenance. So for example, if their voice gateway went down, their router, Cisco would provide advanced replacement of that piece of hardware at no cost, per their SmartNet contract. Also entitled them to software upgrades, etc. So that was $2,500 a month. Next, they didn't have any other maintenance contracts to speak of, but they did have a third-party support agreement, $416 a month, which was kind of an odd number. And I found out that over the course of 3 years, they're paying $15,000. So they have an insurance policy with a managed service provider to be available if they have an emergency, if they need support, if they get themselves in trouble. And so in this case, $5,000 a year is $416 a month. If they are to call that vendor, the vendor would also charge them a per hour fee for time and materials. And so they didn't give me what those charges or costs were. They didn't share that with me, but we just left it at $416. Next, they estimated $50 a month for rack space, power, and cooling, and that's a very conservative number. That's kind of subjective, difficult to calculate, but it adds up nonetheless. And over the course of 3 years, it's a couple $1,000s. Now, the next one, internal IT cost to support the current solution. Now, they did not share those numbers with me. Maybe they didn't want me to know what they're paying their people, but let's just for the sake of discussion, let's say in this case they have a Cisco call manager, a very complex technology, a specialization. It's kind of a high dollar resource to be able to support that. And so let's suppose that the fully loaded wage is $100 per hour. And let's suppose also that they're spending 10 hours a month, which is conservative, supporting that platform, moves, adds, changes, etc. That would be $1,000 a month operating expense for that line item. Next, hardware, software updates and upgrades. And so they, just to keep what they had, they got a quote for $60,000 over the course of 3 years, is what it would cost them in hardware and software just to keep what they have. Their system was no longer supported. They needed to upgrade their version, and this was the cost. So we took that capital expense and amortized it over, we turned it into a operating expense just by multiplying it by 36. Meetings, they had a couple of Zoom licenses, which we were able to get rid of because they don't need that on Webex anymore because Webex can provide meetings. So we added that here for $200. And next, this one's important, lost opportunity cost. The lost opportunity cost is simply, what is it costing you to keep your current solution rather than choosing a better alternative? And in this case, they estimated $2,000. They said that they have one site which goes down, they're having some type of hardware failure or circuit outage for 15 minutes a month. It's costing them $2,000. Now, I know that you know that they know.
You don't know that we know they know we know.
That's not true, right? It's probably longer than 15 minutes a month of downtime, and it's costing them greater than $2,000 a month. How? Well, they've got employees that are sitting around that can't make calls, but more importantly, they have customers that can't call in to place orders. And so, but they gave us a number of $2,000 a month, so that's what we went with. All in, they calculated the total operating expense is calculated at $25,000 a month, right? Now remember, we're gonna charge them $90,000, a one-time capital cost for their hardware and services, okay? And recurring, we're gonna charge them $10,000 a month for Webex. What does that mean? That means they're gonna save $15,000 a month, 60% monthly saving. Furthermore, that $90,000, they get a return on that investment in 7 months. After 7 months, they're putting $15,000 to the bottom line, all right? If that's not exciting, I don't know what is. How do we realize that type of savings? Let me show you. So with your current system, for example, as with theirs, with your current system, you currently are paying for phone lines. lines, whether it's a PRI circuit, POTS lines, analog POTS lines, or SIP trunks, you have circuits that you're paying for. You have per minute usage charges, local, long distance. You're also paying for international 800 toll-free calls as well. You've got real estate, power, and cooling. Now, rack space is, it's again subjective, but you only have so much rack space. There's a cost to that. Power and cooling as well. Again, it's nominal, but it adds up. MSP. So you probably, much like them, have a vendor who is providing maintenance for you. They're bailing you out when you're in trouble. Maybe they're doing your moves, adds, and changes, updates, upgrades for you, or when a device goes down or a component goes down, a server goes down, they're troubleshooting that and replacing hardware, upgrading software for you. You have maintenance costs, software and hardware maintenance costs. You've got to pay for upgrades, either from the vendor and or your MSP. You have a piece of hardware that fails, or you need to refresh your hardware to stay current. There's a cost for that. And of course, my personal favorite, I think the most important, is lost opportunity cost. What is it costing you to keep your current system rather than choosing Webex? Let's look at the proposed savings with Webex. With Webex, there are no phone lines. Everything runs over the internet, OTT, over the top. There's no per minute usage charges. It's all included. No real estate, no power or cooling. Why? Because it's in Cisco's data center. There's no hardware or software on site at all, unless you would like a phone. No third-party MSP or vendor for management costs. Why? Because the system is simple enough that the least technical person on your team, even Angela, your receptionist, can manage it. No maintenance fees. Why? Because Cisco maintains it every single night. No hardware, software upgrade. Again, it's all running in Cisco's data center. There's no hardware for you to worry about, no backups required, etc. And there is an improved employee productivity with Webex. For my bean counter friends, for my CFO financial friends, when I'm in front of a customer, prospect, and we're dealing with financial justification, this is something that always comes up. I love this. Check this out. Forrester Research did a study a couple of years ago, and here's what they found. An assumption of a productivity savings of 30 minutes per employee per day, okay? And so if we put some numbers to that, some dollars, and we say that fully, for a firm of 20 employees, a 30-minute per employee per day or time savings, with a fully loaded hourly wage of $24 per hour, 260 day work days a year, that's a savings of $62,000. Now, that doesn't mean that Ben's going to cut you a check for $62,000. What does that mean? That means Webex provides you with the output contribution of another employee. There's another video on how we realize that employee productivity. For now, just understand that the benefit of Webex, whether you're at your office, on the road, in your car, at Starbucks, on your couch at home, or my personal favorite, on a boat, Webex allows you to still maintain connectivity with your team and be productive. And hopefully you found this video beneficial. I've enjoyed it. If you would like more information on Webex, to get a quote or a product demo, click on the description for more information. Otherwise, check out this next video.